Hello, so today I'm gonna explain really briefly what I've been working on with this Argo CD, Tekton, CI/CD, all this stuff related to this SonataFlow operator. So I will try to be brief and explain everything that we are trying to achieve here. The first thing is this architecture that we have, that you can see here on the screen. So the idea is to configure a topology where I have ArgoCD to keep my SonataFlow workflows deployed in a cluster, and CI tooling, to build the image and to build the application itself. So the workflow is like, we create a project, you update the project, you do whatever you need for you in your workflow. You give your source files to your CI tooling of preference. The tooling will build the image based on your project here, and then in the end we can like create a pull request to another repository to keep only the configuration, only the files, the manifests that need to be in sync with your cluster. So this is a way of having an external build system and at the same time integrating with the operator, right? So here on my machine, I have many things installed in my Minikube. Not many things, but a few. It is all good. It's running like locally. My machine is fine. So we have the Tekton pipeline core system installed. Also the dashboard. You can see here a pretty nice interface from Tekton. So this is the this part here, the Tekton installed. It can be anything, but I choose Tekton, because I like Tekton more than Jenkins or other CI tooling out there. So if you're on OpenShift, you can use the OpenShift pipelines. It's like the same thing. Also, I have ArgoCD also installed on my machine. It's pretty, straightforward installation. You just go through their documentation and install Tekton on Minikube. Install ArgoCD on Minikube is pretty straightforward. Even it is super easy to do. I won't go through there now, but just for you to know, there is this pipeline. There are two pipelines here. You can see here in this repo. I will add these repos in the video description, so you can follow this and see how that works. The first pipeline is super simple. Just grab the workflow source and then build the image. And the other one is kind of more complex. So you have you do the same thing. You grab the information. You grab the source files. You do the build, and you open a PR. So let's take a look into this pipeline here. After I want to run and build everything because it will take some time, and I don't want to waste your time here. So the workflow is kind of straightforward. So what I did here was like I pulled the source information, then I set up the workflow information, like the version ID, or those things, in order to build the image. So we use this information, the workflow name and the workflow version, to build the image. So the build process, we use Canonical. All the details about this pipeline is on the repo, so you can see there how we did this build step. Next, we generate the manifest. The manifest is like the SonataFlow custom resource that our SonataFlow operator will then use to deploy the workflow in the cluster. So we have a CLI that we call, that is kind of a plugin of Knative CLI. So it is KN Workflow CLI that you can use to generate these images. So the CLI is embedded in the pipeline. It's pretty nice. Then we open a PR in order to update the manifest in the config repository. So if you go here in this is kind of a my sandbox organization for this example. So you have the repository with the source. So we have a workflow here, not this one, but yeah, this file here. It is a serverless workflow definition. It is repository. We have then the configuration repository, which has only manifests to deploy the actual code. So you have your code in one repository and you have the configuration in another repository. So this is a best practice encouraged by ArgoCD. So you keep your configuration in a separate environment than your source code. So this CI, we pull the code from the source and we generate the manifest representing this application in this other repository here, and we build the application, we push the image, and as you can see here in the manifest itself, we have a pretty much image that we are going to deploy with this workflow. It's representing this workflow here in the custom resource. Okay, so we open the PR. You can see an example of the PR here. I just closed, but you can see here this is like generated by the pipeline. It's pretty nice. With the if I change it, the code and the workflow, it's reflecting in the manifest. All right, so we have this part here, which is like build and create a pull request, in order to keep in sync the Kubernetes environment. So how do we do that? We have ArgoCD for this, So it is not hard to configure. So you don't even need to know YAML files or anything like that. So you just create a new app. So I just have one here. Let me see if we can find the details. It is essentially, pulling from that repo that I opened the PR with the Tekton, and with this information in here in the path manifest, we have the actual Kubernetes resource that we want. So if we change anything in there and we merge, the application will be out of sync, and we can just do a sync here. So Argo will take the custom resource and apply to the cluster. Then the operator, the SonataFlow operator, will take over. So you can see here that I have the operator installed on Minikube. So I have Tekton, ArgoCD, and the operator installed on my cluster. And then the operator takes over and creates everything for the workflow to be deployed. And everything, what I mean by everything is like this. This is nice, a nice interface by Argo. You can see here let me zoom in a little bit. So you can see the resources, the objects that the operator created. So we have a SonataFlow YAML file. You can see here is the same YAML file that we have in the repo. So pretty cool. So from these SonataFlow custom resource here, the operator then creates those things. So we have a configuration map with the application properties for the workflow application. We have a service, so you can access the application. We have the deployment, a Kubernetes deployment, which represents the workflow application itself, and so on and so forth. So you can see here, let me see if we can, collapse this. Okay, right. We have like a replica set, and then all these, 3 view of, like, let me see if we can, you can see here, like, we have the pod up and running. So it's a pretty nice interface, which you can see, how much CPU, memory, and which node it is, the stuff. If you know about ArgoCD, you kind of grasp everything here. But what you need to know is like, after the Tekton run OpenAPR, we keep in sync the manifest with the Kubernetes cluster, so you can see the application deployed here. So parallel is the name of my workflow, and you can see the pod here, and also the application up and running pretty nicely. So let's say that you have a change on your code base, so you can change your code. You can come here in Tekton, run the pipeline, and then the pipeline will open a PR to update the image with a new version of your workflow. And then with this new version of the workflow, then ArgoCD we keep the the workflow manifest in sync with the cluster, and then the operator will take over, and we apply the configuration to the cluster. So we make the change to the code, we run Tekton pipeline, then we merge the PR with the changes in the manifest, and we keep the application in sync using ArgoCD and the SonataFlow operator. Right, so this is just a glimpse, a high level explanation of how this works. I will let all these information and all the repositories in the video description, so you can see it by yourself, or maybe try locally this use case. Right, so thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.